Hey guys, Mr. Pusky here. Hope you're having a good day so far. Whoa, crazy. Yeah, so welcome back to another lesson. I actually just got a filling replaced, so my lips are a little numb still, so it's kind of weird, but we'll do the best we can. Gotta make sure we can record a lesson tonight so it has time to upload, but we are continuing with factoring in Chapter 10 today. The name of the lesson, let's read it together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Factoring, the grouping method. Essential question is, ready, 1, 2, 3. How do we factor polynomials using the grouping method? Alright, so, yeah, this should be one of the last lessons we're going to be covering. So that's pretty cool. You guys have done a great job so far. Keep up the good work. And, yeah, so it says, if you recall from 10.8 day 1, which was a while ago, we factored out the GCF, which was... In terms of variables and numbers, it was the biggest number that goes into everything and the smallest exponent that goes into everything. But also, you can factor out a GCF that's not just like a number or a variable. You can actually factor out entire terms, or entire expressions, I should say. So it's sometimes the GCF is a quantity like x minus 3. So see, we have x squared for this one, x squared times x minus 3 plus 5 times x minus 3. So you can see we have an x minus 3 in both of these. So we can actually take this, these both have an x minus 3 in common, so we can pull that out in front like we did before with the GCS. We're going to pull out x minus 3 in front, and then what's going to be left over, after we divide these both by x minus 3, that's how we pull out a GCF, what's going to be remaining is, it's going to be, we have the x squared plus 5. Okay, so that's the same thing. They both had an x minus 3 in common, so we can pull those out in front. And, yeah, that's where it goes right here. And then now we have x minus 3 times whatever's left over, which is x squared plus 5. Okay, it'll make more sense when we get into some actual problems here. So, factoring using the grouping method, we're going to use this when the polynomial has 4 terms. Has how many terms? 4 terms. Okay, so the first step is to group the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms. The what and what? First 2 terms and last 2 terms, because each pair has a GCF. We're going to factor out these GCFs, or greatest common factors. And it says factor out the common quantity. All right. So let's go ahead and do this first one together. I'll give you guys time to write that down. So for number 1, what we're going to do every time we have 4 terms here, means we're going to be using probably going to be using factoring by grouping. So we're going to put a slash right in the middle of these. Okay, right between the second term and the sign of the third term. Okay, put a slash there. And I would also like you to list above these terms what the signs are. So this is 2x. So the sign for 2x, this is a positive. What's the sign of this? Is going to be plus 6. You can see how these are all positive. Okay, I kind of gave it away there, but you can see these are all positive numbers, whereas down here, you see how we have negative 5x and negative 15? Okay, so these are all positive. That's going to be important for these kind of problems here, right? So we grouped the first 2 and the last 2. Now we need to find the GCF of each of these separately. We need to find the GCF of each of these separately. So what's the biggest number and smallest exponent that we can pull out of 2x plus 6? Well, the smallest number we can pull out is 2. Can we pull out any exponent? Does the 6 have an exponent behind it, or no? It doesn't, so 2 is going to be our GCF. And now we're going to divide both of these by 2, 2x by 2 and 6 by 2. What is 2x divided by 2 going to be? That's going to be x. And what is 6 divided by 2 going to be? Plus 3. It might be worth going back to the 10.8 day 1 lesson and kind of going through this again if this has been a while since we've worked with factor or like GCFs and stuff. That is a very important skill for this lesson, okay? So if you're feeling confused, make sure you go back and review that. You want to pull out the GCF is the biggest number that both of these have in common and the smallest exponent that they have in common. Okay? And then now we're going to put a plus here. All right? Now, what's the biggest number that both ax and plus 3a have in common? What does ax and 3a have in common? Is there a number we can pull out or no? Is there a variable we can pull out, though? Yeah, we can pull out an a. We can pull out an a. because this has an A and this has an A over here. All right, so we're going to divide both of these by A now. So if we divide them both by A, what is AX divided by A going to be? Well, the A's are going to cancel. We're going to be left with X. And what is 3A divided by A going to be? That's going to be 3. Okay. If you are factoring by grouping correctly, you should have the same expressions right here. You should have the same expressions. We both have X plus 3, which means we're doing it correctly. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this X plus 3 out in front and this X plus 3 in front. We're going to divide both these entire terms by X plus 3. We're going to pull it out in front. So we got X plus 3. And then what's left over is going to be whatever was left over here. If we divide them both by X plus 3, you're going to have what's left is going to be 2 plus A. And this is our final answer. Okay, if you were to FOIL this again, you get back to this original problem here. Remember, factoring is undoing FOIL and distribution. Okay, one thing I want you to write over here. If signs don't match, factor out a negative. If the signs don't match, you're going to factor out a negative. That's going to refer to, see how these are all positive up here? So that means we don't need to factor out a negative. But basically what you would do if you had signs that didn't match up here, you would, instead of putting a plus here, you put a minus, which we'll talk about here in a second. Okay? Ready for another one? Let me just look ahead here and see which ones are the best ones to do. Yeah, these problems are kind of tricky. All right. So I think we're going to do. No, we'll do 2 and 3 together. We're gonna do all these together today. Okay, these are kind of tricky. So, all right. So we are factoring x to the third plus 3x squared minus 5x minus 15. We're doing factoring by grouping, which means we're going to divide them in half. We're going to mark the signs. So x to the third and 3x squared, those are both positive, right? What about negative 5x and negative 15? Those are both negative. So when you're factoring by grouping, these signs and these signs should match. And I'll show you how we fix that in a second here, okay? But for now, we need to pull out a GCF out of x to the third and 3x squared. What's the biggest number we can pull out of x to the third and 3x squared? Can we pull out, does this one have a number over here or no? So we can't pull out a number. What's the smallest exponent? Is x to the third or x squared the smallest exponent? X squared is the smallest exponent. So we're going to pull that out in front. That's the GCF. And then we're going to divide them both by x squared. What is x to the third divided by x squared going to be? That's going to be x. And what is 3x squared divided by x squared going to be? That's going to be 3. Okay. So now, I'm going to go ahead and finish this one. The same way we were doing it before. I'm going to show you why we need to change this in a second here, okay? So let's go ahead and just put plus here for now, and let's figure out what's the biggest number and smallest exponent. What's the GCF for 5x and 15? Negative 5x and 15 going to be? That's going to be 5. Now let's go ahead and divide them both by 5 here and see what happens. What is negative 5x divided by 5 going to be? That's going to be negative x. And what is negative 15 divided by positive 5 going to be? Negative 3. So these are supposed to match. Do they match right now or no? They don't. So the problem, so when you have something like this, when you have the signs that don't match, what you need to do instead of pulling out a positive, we're going to pull out a negative here. Because when we divide by negative, it's going to change the signs. So we're going to pull out a negative 5. Now what is negative 5x divided by negative 5 going to be? That's going to be x. And what is negative 15 divided by negative 5 going to be? That's going to be 3. So that fixed it. So if the signs do not match and we pull out a negative, that's going to change it. It's going to change all the signs from positive, negative, or whatever. Positive, negative, positive, whatever. Okay? Now, what do both of these have in common? They both have x plus 3 in common. And what's left over, when we divide them both by x plus 3, we're going to have x squared minus 5. And there's your answer. If you were to, like I said, if you were to just FOIL this again, you'd get back to the original problem we had. All right. Okay. Next one, number 3. So we have factoring by grouping. We're going to split it in half like this. We're going to mark the signs. These are both positive. These are both positive, so that means the signs are matching, which is excellent. That's what we want. Okay, what's the biggest number and smallest exponent in the GCF? We can pull out of 2xy and 3y. Well, 2 and 3 don't have anything in common, but they both have a y in common, so we can pull out a y. What is 2xy divided by y going to be? It's going to be 2x. The y's are going to cancel. And what is 3y divided by y going to be? That's going to be 3. Cool. And now the signs match, so we're going to put a plus here instead of a negative because we like the signs. We don't want to change. If we put a minus here, it's going to change the signs. It's going to flip them all. We don't want to flip them all. Okay? So we're going to put a plus here. Now, this one's a little tricky. What's the GCF between 2x and 3? Is there a number that goes into 2 and 3? No. Does the 3 have an exponent or no? It does. It doesn't have a variable. So what happens when there's no GCF? We can always pull out a what? We can pull out a 1. So let's let we're going to divide these both by 1. We're going to have 2x plus 3. And then the GCF, when we pull 2x plus 3 out in front, is going to be 2x plus 3 is going to go in front. And then what's left over is going to be y plus 1. And there's our answer. All right, these next ones are a little tricky, so I think we're going to jump around a little bit and just do a couple of probably not all of these. Okay. All right, moving forward here. It says sometimes, so we have 42x to the third plus 24x squared plus 63x plus 36. It says sometimes the entire expression has a GCF that you need to factor out first. So sometimes you need to pull out a GCF before you even get started here, okay? So is there a number or an exponent that goes into 42x to the third, all those? Is there a number that goes into all these? It's actually going to be 3. We can pull out a 3. Now, I can look at this and say there's no exponent we can pull out because this 36 does not have an exponent. So our GCF is actually going to be 3. Okay, and the way you would do that is you would find the factors of 24 and find the biggest number that goes into all of those. Okay? So we have 3. When we divide these all by 3, 42 divided by 3 is going to be 14. Then we're going to have x to the third plus 8x squared. Plus, and then 63 divided by 3 is going to be 21x. And then 36 divided by 3 is 12. Okay? So now we're going to do the same thing inside the brackets, but we're just going to kind of ignore the 3 for a while here, okay? Fix that. That was a little sloppy. Okay, we're going to keep the 3 in front. We're going to just go ahead and we're going to continue what we were doing before now. So now we're going to take this, we're going to split it in the middle. We're going to check the signs. Where are the signs? These are both positive. These are both positive, so the signs are good. So what's the biggest number? We can pull out a 14 and 8. We can pull out a 2. What's the smallest exponent? X to the third or x to the second? X to the second. When we divide these both by 2x squared, 14x to the third divided by 2x squared is going to be 7x. And 8x squared divided by 2x squared is going to be 8 divided by 2 is 4. All right, the signs match, so that means we don't need to change them, so we can put a plus here. We want to keep the signs the same. What's the biggest number that goes into 21 and 12? It's going to be 3. And then we pull that out in front. And then, is there an exponent we can pull out too, or no? Should have asked that first. All right, what is 21x divided by 3? That's going to be 7x. And what's 12 divided by 3? It's 4. Are we doing this right, and how can you tell? We are doing it right because these are matching, which means we pulled. When you do factor by grouping, it should work out perfectly like that. So now for our final answer, the 3 is going to come back, be in the front still here. And then we're going to pull a 7x plus 4 in front. And then what's left over is we got the 2x squared plus 3. And there's our final answer. It's just the same thing as we were doing before, but we have one extra step, pulling out a GCF first before we got going. All right. All right, let me see which of these we want to do. We'll just do the next one, then we'll call it a day. All right, this one right here, 3x to the third plus 6x squared minus 6x plus 12. That actually should be minus 12 right here. That was a goof. This should be minus 12. All right, so is there a GCF? Is there a number that goes into 3, 6, 6, and 12? Yeah, we can pull out a 3. So we're going to pull out a 3, divide them all by 3. So we're going to have, when we divide 3x to the third by 3, we're going to get x to the third plus 2x squared minus negative 6x divided by 3 is negative 2x, and negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. Okay, now we're going to split it in the middle for factoring by grouping. Check the signs. These are both positive. These are both negative, so we're going to need to pull out a negative to change the signs here to fix it. So 3 bracket. Is there a number that we can pull out of x to the third and a 2x squared, or no? Is there a exponent we can pull out? Yeah, we can pull out an x squared. That's the smallest exponent. And when we divide x to the third divided by x squared, we're going to get x plus, and then 2x squared divided by x squared is going to be 2. Now, like I said, we're going to pull out a negative here because we want to change the signs, because the signs are not going to match up otherwise. And then what number goes into 2 and 4 nicely? 2. And if we divide negative 2x divided by negative 2, we're going to get x. And negative 4 divided by negative 2, we're going to get positive 2. Are we doing it right? We are. And our final answer, we're going to pull out a 3 in front still. We're going to pull out these x plus 2s. X plus 2. And then what's going to be left over when we divide them both by x plus 2 is going to be x squared minus 2. And there's our answer. Okay, I think we will stop there for today. I might record another video if we're doing a quiz that we need to talk about some more specific factoring by grouping stuff. But this is one of our last lessons. Keep up the good work, and thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.